Hi there, friend. Welcome to Homekeepers. So glad to have you with us. So glad to be here. Hope your day is going well and that you're enjoying the presence of the Lord in your life. We make this program in Florida, and I tell you, our weather has been divine around here. And I've been outside as much as I could be to enjoy it. You know, in Florida, it gets really humid, but this week it's been really dry, just wonderful and enjoyable. And I hope that's the same with your life. If you saw the last program, you saw me at the very end of the program ask David Nico to stay and let me talk to him a little bit longer. He wrote Diet Diagnosis, and he gave such interesting answers and insight into our conversation yesterday. And so right at the end of the show, I said, can you stay and let me talk to you a little bit longer? And he said, yes. So I will show you that conversation in just a minute, and I'm so glad that he stayed over, because I feel he's written a very, very educational book when it comes to eating, and that you find out a plan that's right for you, because we're not all made the same, of course. So I think you'll enjoy that conversation very much. And I'm going to join Stephanie, and I've got to confess, when we were making this recipe this morning, we both almost got in a fight over who got to lick the dish, you know, the batter in it. Get this, peanut butter and chocolate chip. It's a quick bread. I haven't tasted it since we baked it, but I have a lot of confidence, and I'll be tasting it in just a couple minutes. Before I join her, though, let me remind you, we are viewer-supported, and we so appreciate when you follow what I believe is that just urging, that nudge of the Holy Spirit to help and support a program that absolutely deals in the home, because that's where the problem is, my friend. We'd have far fewer school shootings, we'd have far fewer everything that's negative in this land if the home is right. And that's what we're trying to do. So you can use your credit card or your debit card by calling 1-800-229-0059, or the address is on your screen, Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida, 33758. And let me thank you in advance. And I'm a giver, I'll tell you that. And when I feel that the Holy Spirit would have me give, I finally learned, just do it and then forget about it. Because one thing for sure, God doesn't forget about it, and he repays you. Isn't that true, Stephanie?
True story.
Oh, man,
I can't even stand this. Like, I'm just ready. Like, the batter is so good that I had to just quickly put it into the loaf pans this morning and walk away, because I just wanted to keep eating it. Yeah. It was so delicious.
So I'm mixing this.
You have 3 cups of flour.
That's a lot.
Yeah, a teaspoon and a half of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt. You're going to get that. You could sift it together, or you can just mix it together like Miss Rippy's going to do.
Yep.
I have a half a cup of butter, softened. I have, let me just go down the list, a cup of peanut butter, half a cup of granulated sugar, which you cut down a little bit.
We always put in less sugar.
A half a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of butter softened, 2 eggs, 1.5 cups of buttermilk, yum, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and a cup of semi-sweet, but did you get dark chocolate?
No, I don't think the menu comes in the dark.
Okay, so I'm just going to start whipping this all up. I'm going to whip the peanut butter and the butter up. We're going to make them real fluffy.
You know what? This last weekend, my daughter's a professional harpist.
She is, yes.
For years, decades, she's played. She's played for a lot of the shows that come to town. And Frankie Valli was here.
You got a song stuck in my head this morning.
Yeah, and she played for him, sold out 2 concerts. And he's the one that made that song popular. My eyes adored you.
That's the song she got stuck in my head
Though I
this
never
morning.
laid a hand on you.
Yes.
Anyway.
Sugars.
I said, you know, I'd almost spend the money for a ticket just to hear that song. But I didn't want to go by myself and all that. And then...
Lord knows Stephanie doesn't go out at night, so don't ask her.
Oh, but listen to this. Thank God for the internet.
Oh, yes.
I pulled it up on the internet and I got to hear the song. I played it 2 or 3 times, actually.
Nice.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
So that's what I did this weekend.
2 eggs. Well, I went out to hunt camp and enjoyed the outdoors and enjoyed the fresh air and the sunshine.
But didn't you encounter a big snake?
Oh my gosh. biggest rattlesnake I've ever seen in my whole entire life. I am not even kidding you. It was 4 feet, 4.5 feet long, and it was the thickest thing I've ever seen. It had 8 rattles on it. True story. Drove by it, turned around, went back, had to see it on the four-wheeler. I wasn't on the ground. It scared me because it was close to hunt camp, so we had to take care of it. 2 teaspoons of vanilla.
Yeah, I learned something. She said they always get rid of the rattlesnakes.
Got to get rid of the
Being
rattle.
an animal lover, yeah.
Yep. A cup and a half of buttermilk.
You put all in at once?
Oh yeah, let's just get it go. Well, because we got to go.
Yeah.
Oh look, I'm making a lovely mess. Let me turn it down. There.
Well, okay, if this snake had a big bulge in its stomach, could that be an animal in
Yeah,
there?
oh, sure. Yeah, it was, yes. Well, let's just say that. I won't say what the other thing it could be and make people sad. Okay, so let's get this fluffed up here. And then I'm going to start adding the dry to it.
Uh-huh.
This is such a fluffy, yummy batter. It's ridiculous.
Well,
you have 2 loaf pans, because this makes 2 loaves.
If people have watched this show very long, they know I love a quick bread.
Who doesn't? Get a cup of coffee, a cup of
Yeah.
your cup of tea. Oh,
This
look
is
at
still
that.
warm.
And I have to take some upstairs.
Oh,
Because the people upstairs are starting to get upset that nothing makes it up there anymore.
oh, well,
Okay, so all the dry.
we'll take them some.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the end off and take,
Because I post it on Facebook sometimes, like what we're making,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, well, we never got to see it. Well,
all right. We got to remember that,
yeah. Okay.
that
Whoops.
we're not a respecter of up or down.
Right. We love all of our coworkers.
Our offices are upstairs and our crew is downstairs.
Yes.
And of course the crew is closer to the recipe.
They get the food, yes.
Well, this was so good raw.
Yeah. Okay, and then I have a cup of chocolate chips that I'm just gonna mix in.
Oh my.
I am covered in stuff. I'm gonna put them in sprayed loaf pans and bake them about 45 minutes at 350. Is it so, like
I have never had anything like that.
so good,
Trust
right?
me, you want this. It's a peanut butter chocolate chip loaf.
Yes.
And,
And
you can
seriously, just a spoon and this. I'm good. I don't care
right.
that there's raw eggs in it. I don't care. No.
And remember, we always choose to put less sugar in, usually about a half of
Yes,
the recipe.
yes.
And trust me, it doesn't make that much difference. So, I mentioned at the top of the show that David Nico stayed over to talk to me, and you're going to see that conversation right now. So stay with us, and don't forget recipes are free. That information is coming up on your screen as well.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, you may receive it by contacting us through social media as listed on the screen. When requesting a copy through the mail, be sure to include a self-addressed stamped envelope. Thank you, and please know we always appreciate hearing from our viewers.
As I mentioned earlier, I asked David Nico to stay with me because we didn't really cover all that I wanted to cover in this book. He's known as Dr. Health Nut and the author of Diet Diagnosis, and we're going to pick up where we left off on the last program because we were just getting into what I felt was really, really important in your book. And you have, here it is, various types of diets. And this might make your eyes glaze over, but you need to know it. A carb diet, protein, fat, vegetarian, fasting diet, a metabolic, a high plant, a gluten-free, and an athletic. I'm sure we can't cover all of them, but one of them that stood out to me, the metabolic. What is that?
So the metabolic is really a metabolism boosting diet. So how can we boost our metabolism?
Yes.
Right?
That's what I want.
And I always say, you know, when you get up in the morning, everybody talks about these fasting, I'm going to fast now, but actually that can depress our metabolism. I'm not saying don't go through fasting seasons, which we need to give our body a break.
And also spiritually.
And spiritually as well. And so the metabolic is really boosting the metabolism, so our metabolism's fired up. So it's working, it's energized. And so by putting in the right metabolic diet, which one example could be like a Mediterranean diet, which is balanced portions. So you got your balanced fats, you got your balanced carbohydrates, you got your balanced protein, You know, that's an example that can help fire up the metabolism. I think a balanced approach generally can be very, very healthy, but once again, everybody is different. So that, and I think you asked the question about how do we really know that? It's through testing our body, listening to our body. Do we feel tired? You know, if we eat something and we say, oh, I feel like I'm going to go to sleep. Yeah. I mean, is that the food or is it something else? Could it be emotion? So that's where we really need to be in tune listening to our bodies. That's what it comes down to.
Does anybody need a carb diet? Do they need one?
There are some cultures that eat carbs. I mean, for example,
they're healthy?
Well, the Asian culture, I mean, they eat a lot of, for example, fish or seaweed, and they even have vegetables.
Is that
those are carbohydrates. So everybody talks about carbohydrates are bad.
I thought carbs were crackers and cookies.
Well, a lot of people think that.
Not seafood.
Well, well, seafood isn't necessarily a carbohydrate, but that's part of their diet. But there are carbohydrates that are complex. Those are the ones we want in our diet. Could be like starches, could be like
rice.
Rice could be, but it needs to be a healthier form of rice, not white rice that's been stripped and refined. But I mentioned this on another program. We want to be careful with rice too, because some of it could be contaminated with inorganic heavy metals. So basically, we want to get organic and non-GMO, and actually California came out with some of the lowest levels of heavy metals and pesticide contamination. But again, we want to focus more on the vegetables. I like the complex carbohydrates like vegetables, like cruciferous vegetables, like cauliflower, like broccoli, like kale, because those actually help us through steaming. We can steam them and we reduce what's called goitrogens, which can inhibit thyroid function. So it's almost an anti-nutrient. So by steaming the vegetable, it actually helps our body.
Also, I get real discouraged about organic. I honestly don't buy it. It's a whole lot more expensive. And I wonder if it really is.
Well,
do you trust that?
Well, first of all, I want to you bring up a very, very good point here, okay? Organic, non-GMO is better than non-organic generally, okay? There is now some contamination, some pesticide runoff and contamination
that's
been getting into it, but still, generally speaking, it's going to be much better than conventional. Very, very important, especially for the thin skins like in grapes and things like that that easily absorb the pesticides versus thicker fruits like an orange that is the protective covering in skins. But generally speaking, those are where we're seeing a lot of problems, is these chemicals on a micro level that are getting into the cell and affecting the molecules, where now we have disease characteristics. We have the cancer, we have the cardiovascular disease. It's actually depressing our body. So I do believe that organic is better. But again, if you're on a budget, you can determine which are going to be the most critical to get that are higher pesticide versus the lower pesticide counts.
I've heard from someone who works in one of these big, well, it's Dole, okay, so that they're kind of planted close together, and those pesticides can move over to the organic, or maybe rain or something could take it over. And you know, this is another point. When we pray over our food and we ask the Lord to bless it, that's not just some kind of an exercise we do. I mean, with the way things are grown now and the way they're manipulated, that is a very important prayer that we pray.
Absolutely. Now I also want to say that, you know, we can't take something that God did not create for food and bless it as good, because He didn't create that. Because like it talks about in Romans.
God's saying, no, that's not food.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it says what God created for food in Romans is good. What God created. So that's the key. When it's man created, when it's man induced or scientifically produced, that's not going to be healthy for us. So if we bless something that God created, right, then that's healthy. But I'm not saying, you know, if we're in a situation we have to go on a trip or something and pray over the food, take communion, you know, do everything you can.
Yeah. What about the way our food is planted? What's a GMO?
Genetically modified organism, and there's
that
also,
sounds awful just by itself.
Well, it's terrible, and there's also genetically engineered foods, which are really, really harmful. So both are pretty much the same, but one may be genetically modified, one may be genetically engineered, but they're all bad. And in studies, they find that rats who consume this, there was a study out of France, and the journal retracted the study because there was some politics involved. Basically, they found these rats had cancer. They contracted cancer from eating these GMOs, consuming the foods that had this. And then what happens? We have to spray it with the glyphosate, which is the pesticide to keep all the bugs off and everything, and that gets in. So it's just, it's not what God intended, and that's why we want to go back to more biodynamic, sustainable, organic, real organic, the way God intended. And we need more farmers. We need more people to stand up, leaders, to take charge and get the food back to the way God intended.
Well, do they do this because it creates more volume?
Absolutely. It's more volume, and it's easier, and they think they're feeding the world. They think they're supplying the world with all of this, but actually it's creating health problems. It's creating health issues. So what is it if you live 5 years longer, but you have diabetes, you have cancer, you have arthritis, you have all these degenerative conditions that in many cases can be prevented through lifestyle and good nutrition.
If you just joined me, I'm talking to David Nico, also known as Dr. Health Nut, and we're going to put the website up on the screen, and you can get the book from there, a lot of information, but also they can get something free off of that.
They can get health tips every single week. Every Monday, send out health tips, just encouraging them, and they can sign up for that on the website.
All right, and the first chapter will grab you, so I suggest you do that, and it doesn't really cost anything. Is there such a thing as a healthy processed food?
There is a healthy processed food.
Really?
Yeah, there is, because everybody says, well, processed food is bad, and yes, if it's genetically modified or processed and stripped and refined. But for example, if I want to blend up a healthy smoothie, I want to throw in some blueberries, some raspberries into the blender, some strawberries, a little bit of banana, and some kale.
Had one this morning.
I can have a shake. That's really healthy. That's going to be good for my cells, good for my skin, because everything in our body comes from what? It comes from nutrition.
Well, what in that shake is bad?
There's nothing in that shake that's bad. It's all going to be beneficial for us. It has the antioxidant, it has the polyphenols, it has the anthocyanidins that are actually molecules that tell our cells to keep the bad genes off and keep the good ones on.
I have a doctor on here once in a while, Dr. John Young, who has created what goes all the way back to the Johanna Budwig shake that has protein and oil in it and all. I'm addicted to it. I have it every morning with a lot of the things that you just suggest, and that's really a good, quick, healthy, and tasty way to
Absolutely.
Get going in the morning.
And it has the fiber in it too, because when you include all of that in there with the protein, you still have the fiber, right? That's helping keep everything regular, which is important, but it's also giving you the nourishment in those cells that is so vital for us, for our energy. And you probably feel energized, right?
Oh yeah, I go around happy. Oh,
yeah, that's good.
So
and it
good.
makes you happy. That's that serotonin.
Yeah, my sister says she's addicted to it. So, and you can throw some spinach in there.
You can throw spinach in there. Yeah.
The only thing about spinach, it changes the color, and it's not very pretty. But you don't really taste the spinach. So
the green, if you can get over the green a little bit, just close your eyes, or put it in a container that didn't show it to you.
Yeah, right.
Just drink it down.
Okay, you talk about an inflammatory diet and an uninflammatory diet. I have a feeling that the first one's not good.
The inflammatory diet is very bad. That's the SAD diet, the standard American diet, which is the processed and refined foods. That's what most of just going to the theme park. We went to a theme park recently, my family, and just seeing everything there.
What do you find to eat?
I bring healthy food. I pack healthy snacks.
Oh, you take it with you.
And then sometimes they do have some options. Like for example, they had lamb. They had some lamb there that was grass-fed lamb, so they're eating the right stuff, which is important. And it has carnitine in it, which is energizing. So I felt a little energy from that. So sometimes you can find things, or you just plan ahead and you pack something healthy, so you're not gravitating towards the wrong stuff. So
I'm not sure I want to go with you.
Oh, it's too much fun, I'm telling you. No, people are literally like, is this healthy? Is this not? Is this good? I mean, at least
you'll have to pack for me, okay?
Right, there you go.
Let's talk about, you talk about fake meat and just fake food and hydrogenated. I had a blank there.
Or
fats.
hydrogenated.
Fats, yeah. Well, I think we all threw margarine out a long time ago, didn't we?
Well, some people still put that into these processed products, and these processed foods, so they're still using them. And sometimes they're going under all these different names, chemical names you can't even pronounce.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful what's in the food.
you know, we can be thankful that there's a lot of information on our foods, and also that recently they've enlarged it so you can read it better. You know, the calories and the carbs and all this. That's helpful because in my lifetime there was never anything like that.
Well, they're actually in process of transitioning to that. And generally speaking, what's good about it is they're adding added sugars to it, which before it was just sugar. So you didn't know the difference between what was added sugar versus what was not added
What's
sugar.
the difference in that and sugar and fructose?
Well, fructose is a sugar, so that could still be natural fructose from like an apple. If I eat an apple, that fructose, that sugar, metabolizes healthier in my body versus added fructose or high fructose corn syrup that is detrimental to health.
They call corn syrup fructose?
High fructose corn syrup is deadly. You don't want to touch
Never heard
that
of that
stuff.
one.
And it's added, it's sugar, but
We're
it's bad.
gonna run out of time again. Anything wrong with caffeine?
Caffeine can be addictive. So
Yeah.
caffeine can be very addictive. So here's the thing. Any stimulant that has a drug-like effect, what is that doing to our body? And also, what other disruptions is it creating? For example, I know people that drink, you know, coffee and all these different things all the time, and they have sleep problems. And I say, well, maybe if you cut that out, that may help you. Switch to decaffeinated tea. Go to green tea. Go to something different. Use that
Especially
as
before you go to bed.
support, as your bedtime drink.
I don't know. I've always felt like God in heaven knew that we needed a punch in the morning, so He created caffeine.
Well, it's the amount and it's the way it's processed. So if it's in the raw form, the way God intended from the beans, from the real coffee beans, the problem is it's the way it's processed and the way it's metabolized in the body that is causing harmful effects.
My thing is tea, but my mom was born in England, so I think that's the reason.
There you go.
The British. What's your view on cholesterol? We have all kinds of views on that, and we've had different views sitting in that chair. What's yours?
Well, there's different types of cholesterol. There's blood cholesterol, right? Which is what, when we take our cholesterol, that's what it is. And then there's cholesterol that we see in the food. Those are two different things. So just because I eat something that has cholesterol in it, that doesn't necessarily mean it translates to blood cholesterol. Oftentimes it's inflammation of the arteries that's causing the problem. Inflammation that may be contributing to the higher levels of negative cholesterol. So we want to add the good cholesterol, what's called the HDL, the high density lipoprotein cholesterol, versus the low density lipoprotein cholesterol.
We get that from food.
That's the negative. We get it from food. So the high density are, for example, in these proanthocyanidins. I want to ask you to spell it.
Thank you so much.
Which is found in grape skins, which is found in berries skins, which actually, and even green tea, that actually helps to maintain the good cholesterol in our body. But I don't necessarily believe we can have just all, high cholesterol, and that's the best thing in the world. But I don't necessarily believe that just low cholesterol is the best thing in the world. Yeah. I think we need a balance there, and that's the thing with a lot of these things that are being prescribed to people.
Oh, yeah.
It's reducing cholesterol, but it's causing hormone disruption. So we need a balance here, a balanced perspective, and so that's why I say it's individual. And I know people with very high cholesterol, I'm talking off the charts, in 99th percentile, and when they scan their carotid artery, they find they don't have any plaque. How do you explain that? So there's a genetic component there as well.
Yeah, my doctor tried to give it to me, and I said, no. Because your brain needs cholesterol.
Your brain needs cholesterol. Your body needs cholesterol. Your hormones, where does the hormones come from? They come from the cholesterol. So it's the inflammatory cholesterol from the wrong processed foods, the refined products, the refined sugars, the boxed packaged cereals that we've all talked about, that actually cause that inflammation in the arterial vessels.
Okay, go over the good foods for cholesterol again.
So, for example, like monounsaturated fats are really, really healthy, which are found like in avocados. Avocado is actually a fruit. So that's a good fat, and people think, oh, fat leads to more cholesterol. Well, that's a good fat. We need to eat that. Yeah. But also the proanthocyanidins, which is like the grape skins, the berries, the seeds, the nuts. That's all going to build good, healthy cells and tissues and organs in our body that we need and contribute to that.
Yeah, I think we're in a situation in America that if God gives us, a reasonable amount of time down the road, we're going to see a lot of things were huge mistakes in the medical world, giving, young people because they might have an issue here or there, giving them a psychotropic drug or something. You can't improve on what God made in the garden.
That's right. That's
Never
right.
be able to do that.
We need to get back to that. We need to get back to the God-designed way of a lifestyle. And I know it's tough in this age.
It's very tough.
But we can do it. And I believe that the church should be the leaders of this. We should be the ones pioneering this. Why let New Age, why let all these others do this? Why not God's people be the leaders in this area?
I want to thank you for joining us. It's been very, very educational and
so
for a wonderful book. And come back and see us
It's a delight.
sometime. And you stay with me. I have a couple things to say before we have to say goodbye.
Arthelene would like you to keep the following information handy. You may contact Homekeepers by writing to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758, or go to www.rippy.org. Remember, we always enjoy hearing from our viewers, and we thank you for your support.
Well, I'm glad that he agreed to stay around and talk to me a little while longer. I think that was a very, very educational exchange, and so thankful for the good gifts that God sends our way. And I hope that a lot of the things we do on here, we talk about just about everything. I always say we talk about anything and everything that affects the home, and guess what? That is anything and everything. But I hope that a lot of the things we bring to you, you take to heart, because I truly believe God sends us these people to make your life better. And when you look around and you see the overall health of America and that we are the #1 drug consuming nation in the world, I think that is a disgrace. And so those things that we bring to you from time to time, if you take them to heart, it's going to make a difference. I have a beautiful lake close to my house, and I walked around it twice yesterday. Some of the things you can do to make your health better are so minimal. They're so easy. They're not rocket science. And remember, children of Israel walked 40 years. Jesus walked everywhere, except we see him on a donkey once. We see him in a boat a couple times, walked everywhere. Maybe you can just start with that. Get out of the chair, turn the TV off, and get out there and get moving, get some oxygen in your cells, and you're going to feel a lot better. But I'm not a doctor, but we are out of time, so join me next time, remembering there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you should miss a Homekeepers program, you can catch up by going to www.ctnonline.com. Click on CTN Programs and then on Homekeepers.